Verse 7. They carry it on the shoulder, they bear it on the shoulder, they carry it, and set it in its place, and it stands. From its place it shall not move. The one cries out to it, yet it cannot answer, nor save him out of his trouble. And here again, God's just saying, it's a thing. It's made of gold and silver. You put it there. You had it made. And you know what? When your mom dies and you need help, when your life is a total mess, when one of the highlights of your life is going out and getting drunk as much as you can, and you want out of it, and you're tired of everything, and you come before it, it can't hear you. And it will not save you. Verse 8. Remember this and show yourselves men. Recall to mind, O you transgressors. And this is where God's laying it out. O you transgressors. He spoke first of the idols and their nature, then of his own. Then he asked us to compare him and the idols. He showed where the idols came from. And now he says, "O you transgressors, remember this and show yourselves men." This is like when you're a kid and you did something wrong and your parent yells at you from the other side of the house. And you know you got a talking coming to you. Verse 9. Remember the former things of old. Up to this point, God had created the Garden of Eden. Noah's flood had came and passed. He had taken Israel out of captivity from Egypt through Moses. All these things have happened because of God. And he's saying, think, McFly, think. Is anybody in there? Remember those things I did for you? Remember all those times you were in need? And there was nothing you could do yourselves, and you turned to me? Remember those. Remember the things I did just for you. Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me. Let me read that again. Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me. Black and white. There's one God. He is it. We can distract ourselves as much as we like. We can find solace. In anything we want. But it's not going to be true solace. I used to sing a song called the Whiskey Lullaby. I didn't really sing a song. I drank it. And it didn't make nothing better. I used to distract myself with as much as I could. All the time. I needed constant stimulation. I needed to be out driving. I needed to be hanging out with friends. I needed to be watching TV, playing video games. I needed to be distracted all of the time. If I wasn't, if things were quiet, if my mind wasn't set on something, anything, it's then that I'd feel the emptiness, the loneliness, the helplessness that I had. We all have our idols. It could be a relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be anything at all that you turn to other than God. Anything at all. So, I picked those verses in part to speak about idolatry, to ask you to consider what in your life do you turn to besides God, and also to look at verse 9. I am God, and there is none like me, to show just the one time, the one verse, that God himself says, I'm it. There's no other God. Nowhere. Anywhere. At all. And there's a lot more verses that go through that, which at another time we will examine. But right now, that was our preface into the identity into Christ. So now, let's turn to John in the New Testament and look at some of those verses as well. There are 4 books in the New Testament, the first 4, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they're called the Gospels. Gospel meaning the good news. What good news? The good news that Christ brought us. And they don't all read the same. They may talk about the same events, but from different perspectives. The 4 Gospels were written by 4 of Christ's followers, 2 different audiences. And that also is another study for another time. So, let's look at John. First part of it, John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, if you're following in your Bible, which I hope you are, you'll notice Word is capitalized in that sentence. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So, in the beginning of what? The beginning of everything. The beginning of the universe, which God created in Genesis. He created the universe. In the beginning, the Word was there. And it was with God, and the Word was God. So what's the Word? Capital Word. Capital W, Word. What is it? If we go down a couple verses, 1 John, John chapter 1, verse 14, it says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth.